Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to City Year UK's 10th anniversary gala. We are delighted to for you to be able to join us this evening for our 10th anniversary virtual celebration. I think we could all use a bit of inspiration and positivity given what is happening in the world at the moment. And so over the next hour, it is our goal and it is our hope that we will do just that for you. My name's Dean Thomas Loud, and as a former assistant head teacher, I now proudly serve as programme manager for Greater Manchester and the Black Country. I'm so thrilled to head up two regional programmes that works across an array of primary and secondary schools throughout the region. This year, we have seen growth that has ensured our largest cohort in Manchester, and the Black Country represents a brand new area for us this year. The growth we've recently seen in both these areas has been so pleasing to see and represents the ever need for City Year to help address social and educational disadvantage. At City Year UK, we have a founding story, which is simply an African one-word proverb, Ubuntu. Ubuntu means I am because you are. And this applies as much to the global as to the local community. In a true community, a person cannot be complete if others do not enjoy full humanity. In other words, anyone living in an unjust society is diminished and degraded as a result. When we do nothing, we let ourselves down as much as those need we ignore. Therefore, a programme that works with committed young people that come together to provide opportunities for the positive development of children across cities like Manchester and boroughs like Sandwell, to name a few, is something I am personally really proud to be associated with. Tonight is very, very different from what we had originally planned. We are not having dinner at a beautiful venue. We aren't able to talk to each other face to face, and we aren't able to mark our 10th anniversary in person. We've heard it a lot just recently, but welcome to the new normal. But what we are able to come together as a community of people, what we are able to do is care about changing the lives of children and young people. And that can translate just as easily online as it can in person. The world has changed over the last few months, and our celebration was originally scheduled for April, then we moved it to September, and now we've landed on tonight. And that was before we knew this week we would see the general election in the US and a new national lockdown part 2 in the UK. Nevertheless, this evening, we want to especially thank all those individuals and companies that have stuck with us, honouring their commitment to host tables despite the date changes. The funding you provided was critical to us being able to complete our academic year last year successfully. And we want to celebrate you in our small way with this event. But City Year UK has always been a community that can rise to the challenge. And we have planned a wonderful evening of reflection, inspiration, and idealism. I want to take the opportunity to tell you about the event this evening. We have videos that help to bring our work alive. You will hear remarks from City Year UK's Chief Executive, Kevin Munday, and we will be doing breakout tables with our volunteer mentors, our fabulous volunteer mentors, so that they can share with you in smaller groups their experiences from their service year last year and what a cohort they were last year. And you'll be able to hear more about that as we go into the breakout rooms. We will also be celebrating 6 people who have played critical roles in building City Year UK over the last 10 years. And finally, we will conclude with the different ways that you can stay or get involved. So let's get started. It's my absolute pleasure to announce our first video for this evening. As this is our 10th anniversary, we wanted to reflect back on some of the wonderful stories over the last 10 years. And we chose this video from 3 years ago, sharing the story of one of our volunteer mentors and one of the pupils within that school and their journey to find themselves. This is vintage City Year, and we hope it gives you a better idea of how City Year UK works. I'll be back later in the evening, but enjoy what's coming up.
My mum's really young, so she was 16 when I was born.
I'm leaving now, honey. Don't forget to feed the cat.
She had to give up everything she wanted to do to make sure that I had a good start in life. In year 2, the doctor told me that I was mildly deaf. She's going to be needing to wear hearing aids. So I just felt like the odd pea in a bag. So I was very alone in my primary school.
As a kid, having older brothers and sisters, they're busy with their own work. Mum and dad are busy with their own thing. And then you're just left like, what do I do? Getting so much homework that you just can't breathe. You just want to be on point and just do it. But things happen and teachers don't understand that.
Okay.
I used to hate meeting new people. I would just get scared what they would say to me and stuff like that. It was hard, very hard.
108, 110, 112.
Teachers would think, oh, she's quiet, she must be doing good. But it doesn't work like that.
40, minus 50, minus 60, minus...
The loud people get more attention.
128 doubles, you got to do 3 more. At least I'm doing it with you.
Having a City Year next to you, you know, I could do anything, even if I don't believe it in myself.
12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17.
I want to be an eye opticianist. To be an eye opticianist, I need to have maths, English and science.
Does that make sense? If you're shy, you can't express your feelings, you can't show any form of emotion, you can't be confident. So all of these things will hold you back.
If you have 4 and you have 5, the difference between 4 and 5 is because 5 has one more than 4 and 4 has one less than 5.
You're done. You're getting this, you're getting there.
So we can have some more adjectives in one of these.
What does it mean by that?
List details. So because you're describing what these things are, you're saying to try and add as much detail.
Sometimes she takes me out in other lessons and helps me on particular bits of the work are as blue as the ocean.
There you go.
As someone trying to be older than you, they kind of know what we're going through.
Whenever I notice them standing alone in the playground, I always think, no, don't do that. Go play with someone because you're going to continue to be this person that always sits in the corner. So I try to tell my experience to them, saying, don't do that. Go make friends.
So we're beginning with our rotate it, okay?
At first, all of my focus students have been below where they need to be, where all the other students are way above. So this is the gap so far. Now, my class is right there.
I know there's going to be like a time that I have to move on without her.
Whichever way you get it wrong, it's fine.
But now I've grown in friendship. I've just made loads of friends. It's definitely given me confidence.
I'm just trying to influence all the children to love what they do, like how I love music. If I haven't taken part in City Year, they would not have learned all the key skills that I have learned. I would still be very secluded.
In sunsets, in midnights, in cups of coffee, in inches, in miles, in laughter, in strife, in 525,600.
I hope you enjoyed the video. For me, it showed so well the difference that City Year makes to our volunteers, and in turn, through their service, the difference that we can make to students in disadvantaged communities. I joined City Year 2.5 years ago, building on the work of our founding Chief Executive, Sophie Livingstone. Coming from a background in other youth charities, it was the perfect role for me. And the City Year mission means something very personal. When I was growing up, I struggled in school sometimes, but I was lucky. I had a great youth worker, and later I got involved in volunteering in my community, which led to my first big break. I care passionately about City Year and our double benefits, how we can help both students in schools, but also the young people who volunteer to develop the all-important employability skills. As we celebrate our 10th anniversary, it's the perfect time to look back on the City Year journey and the achievements that we've made. 10 years ago, when the programme began in the UK, we were dealing with the aftermath of the global economic downturn. More than 1 million young people were unemployed, and the founders of City Year set out to find the solution. They were concerned about a common problem. If you had no experience, you couldn't get a job. But if you didn't have a job, how could you get that experience? They came across a great programme in the US called City Year and pledged to bring it to the UK. 10 years ago, we began with a pilot of just 7 volunteers in East London. 10 years later, the situation now, in some ways, is quite similar. As a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, we expect to see youth unemployment rise to record levels again. We need to help young people furthest from the labour market, develop the skills that employers are calling for, and support them into sustainable jobs. But this time, we also have a second big challenge. The challenge of learning loss for students who've missed more than 6 months of school. We need to quickly help students catch up and also at the same time settle back into their learning and regain a sense of well-being. During lockdown, we had to make significant changes to the way we deliver our services. For most of our volunteers, we moved our activities online so that they could continue to mentor students from home and provide learning virtually. But even through the deepest part of the lockdown, half of our volunteers were still going in to provide support to the children of key workers and the most vulnerable young people. And schools tell us we're one of the very few services that continue to provide face-to-face support during that time. Now, with schools reopening and our new cohort of volunteers having started, we're providing 100% of our support back face-to-face in schools. However, we know that another lockdown could come at any time, and we're ready to move our services virtually again if needed. In the face of these challenges, I'm delighted that City Year continues to grow and develop. This year, we're supporting 25 schools and over 160 volunteers. That's a third more than this time last year, and the highest amount that we've ever supported. And I'm particularly proud that those volunteers are more diverse than ever before, with more than 3/4 coming from Black, Asian, or minority ethnic backgrounds, reflecting the students and the communities that we serve. Now, we could have never achieved this without many of you. We've benefited from the leadership, advice, and operational input of many different leaders over the last decade. At City Year, one of our founding stories remembers the words of Sir Isaac Newton, who said, "If I've seen further, it's by standing on the shoulders of giants." And tonight we want to recognise and to honour 6 of those giants. Firstly, as Chief Executive of the Private Equity Foundation, Shaks Ghosh led the work to bring City Year to the UK. She was focused on unlocking the potential of disadvantaged students and addressing the challenge of youth unemployment. And she was one of the first to see that the City Year programme did just that by building the confidence, skills and networks of the young people who volunteered. Peter Wilson became the first chair of trustees. His excellent business sense, coupled with his passion for developing the next generation of leaders, helped us establish a strong organisational base and planted the seeds for success today. We're delighted he continues to support us, co-chairing with Ran Landman, our 7-generation development board, helping build out our community of supporters. Filippo Cardini also played a huge role in the foundation of City Year, helping host the initial staff team out of the Towerbrook offices. Through Towerbrook, they provided not just some of the initial funds to pilot the programme, but they even hosted our staff before we had our own office. His huge passion for young people has meant that their organisation has supported us now for 10 years. Another key partner was Colin Healy Hutchinson. Through his work at Credit Suisse, he encouraged the organisation to think bigger. And as our pioneer growth partners, they supported us to scale up beyond our initial London site into the West Midlands in 2013 and then Greater Manchester in 2015. Zipporah Kitty is a City Year legend. She was a volunteer mentor in our very first cohort, and she recently celebrated 10 years since then as a staff member, including in her current role as our London programme manager. She is a culture carrier and in her heart represents everything that's best about the ideals and mission of City Year. Janice Thomas has seen firsthand the difference that the City Year programme can make. She was one of our founding head teachers, supporting us in Seabright School in Hackney 10 years ago. Since then, she took on the headship of 2 other schools and she's took City Year with her. She's been a huge advocate for our work with other head teachers, and she continues to give us excellent advice on our programme committee. Together, these 6 people exemplify the City Year journey over the last 10 years. It's my pleasure to now introduce our second film, where you'll have a chance to hear from them and other people involved in the journey. I hope you enjoy it, and I'll be back a little bit later to tell you more about how you can get involved.
First got introduced to City Year UK pretty much near the beginning, so roughly 10 years ago now. And we were looking for educational charities that we thought could transform what we thought was going on in education in the UK, particularly in the less advantaged places around London and across the country.
My first introduction to City Year actually was in New York. I was walking home to the apartment one night and there were 4 or 5 red jackets in front of me at a traffic light. I saw the logo on the jacket and that's what sparked the interest.
I was lucky enough to have a mentor when I was a kid growing up, someone who believed in me outside of my family, my parents. That was what attracted me to City Year back in the late 1980s, and it's the same thing that brought me to City Year from 2009 onwards.
I believe that young people are the future. I believe that without them there's no hope. I believe that if you want to make a difference, we need to engage with our young people to make that change. And I think for me, I'm a walking example of that. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, wasn't in the best place or space at the time. And by putting in work and City Year believing in me, made me realise that I can achieve, I can do anything I want to do. And that's the core essence of what City Year really means and is all about, and why I continue to serve.
To find an organisation that really had the same culture across the Atlantic, which is exactly who we are, that really was magical for us.
That red jacket stands for the same things in the UK as it stands for in the US. But this is a person who is committed to you as a student, who believes in you, who is hopeful for your future and wants to support you to achieve your dreams and your full potential.
The thing that really attracted us to City Year UK was not only what City Year UK was planning to do in schools, but also what they were trying to do for the employability of young people. And it was that dual aspect that really attracted us to want to invest in City Year UK.
To be involved with Citia for us, both as individuals and as a firm, it's the feeling of community that we sort of thrive on.
I love the idea about being able to see benefits at both ends of the spectrum. The volunteers who were giving their time and their efforts and a huge amount of sort of commitment and dedication, that their investment in themselves was rewarded at the same time as the benefits to the young children in schools.
Young people everywhere want the same thing. They want to be given the opportunity to make a difference in their communities and in their country. And Citia gives them the tools and opportunity to be able to do that. Citia UK has done a remarkable job of really sort of grounding itself in communities in the UK, first of course in London, and now in Birmingham in the West Midlands and in Manchester. And they are a symbol of hope and optimism and commitment that every community needs.
We're harnessing the energy of young people to volunteer. We're addressing inequality in an educational way in our schools and in our kids. And we're helping the community and the cohesion that we all know we need in society. We know that what we're doing is good. We've really never seen a better time for what Citia is doing for what we need.
When I saw it at Seabright School, actually, one of the core members at the time had one of her kids race across the yard with a paper in her hand and jumped into the arms of the core member, yelling, "I got an A." And the look of joy and happiness on the face of the core member was even bigger than the joy on the face of the kid. And that's when I kind of felt the pride that comes with knowing that we were connecting on two levels, seeing what their attention and their time giving to the student had actually delivered.
The involvement with Citia to me is much more than writing a check. In a way, that is the simplest part. Our focus is threefold. One is the money-giving side. The second is what we would refer to as skills-based volunteering. So that is senior people within the organization providing their technical skills and know-how. And then thirdly, just volunteering itself, which takes all sorts of form with people within the bank who are giving of their time and their expertise, predominantly to the volunteers and also in the schools if they can do that as well.
One of the great benefits with Citia UK in terms of the partners, businesses, funders, is that there's a real engagement and volunteering ability here, going into the schools and actually seeing the volunteers in action, supporting them, but we also can help to mentor them for their future career, develop those skills, help them with the CV and let them map out exactly what are the right sectors for them to be looking at for full-time employment.
Young people have always led the way, and I think Citia is giving more young people in the UK an opportunity to become those leaders, not just of the future, but the leaders of today.
It's been a great first 10 years, I should say. We are a charity, but we think like a business, and we want to make sure that the money that our individual givers and our sponsors and our donors are doing is impactful. I think the feedback from schools, from young people, and from our volunteers show us that's the case. And we want to grow that impact. So we want to spread to other communities across the country, and more schools, and more volunteers, and more kids. And that's where we think we can make a huge difference.
I think the vision for Citia UK as we go forward is to plan for the future for the young generation, the generation that have probably economically, mentally, educationally been most hit by the pandemic. I think over the next 10 years we need to be part of some of those future trends in sustainability, the digital economy, education to a level where every young person in the UK would deserve to be educated.
As schools are opening and closing and studies are being disrupted, Citia folks are playing just a remarkable, important role in helping to maintain that consistency and that engagement with schoolwork.
I think Citia exists to literally close the gap. And I think in a time where things are collapsing, the need for Citia is more prevalent than ever. Children need to learn how to learn again. Young people need to have opportunities to develop, and we're doing both of them at the same time.
There is so much more that we can do. And if there was one thing that people took away from this gala, the opportunity to engage themselves or through their networks would be fantastic. Think about what it could be like if we went from 26 schools in 2020 to 48 schools to 96 schools to 150 schools over the next 10 years. How many mentors we could reach, how many students of disadvantaged backgrounds that need our support could we reach? Transforming lives at both ends. That would be fantastic.
Congratulations again to all of our 10th anniversary honorees. That's such a beautiful video. I saw that for the first time this afternoon, and congratulations to you all. You've made an immeasurable impact on City Year UK over the last decade. Thank you to all of our 10th anniversary honorees. In just a moment, we will be transitioning into some smaller group conversations where you will have a chance to hear about our work from all of our wonderful volunteer mentors. You will be, in a moment, automatically placed into your session, and your table host will guide you from there. We hope you have a wonderful and very fruitful discussion, and I will see you back here in our main session in around about 20 minutes. Enjoy the conversation. Welcome back, everyone. I can see that the majority of people are joining us back again. So welcome back. And thank you for partaking in that different experience of talking around a gala dinner table. I hope you enjoyed your time together and the opportunity to hear from our wonderful volunteer mentors and staff. And thank you very much to the mentors who have given up their time this evening to come and participate within our celebrations and for them to share their stories. Thank you so much, guys. Those stories mean so much when it comes from you particularly. Before I hand over to Kevin Monday, I would just like to say thank you very much for you allowing me to be your host this evening. We are going to go back to Kevin now, who will share some final thoughts as we close our celebration together. But thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you as the year develops. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed your conversations with our alumni volunteers, learning more about what they accomplished last year and the difference that they made. As we come towards the end of the event, I want to take the chance to say thank you to some people. Firstly, to our alumni, but particularly our current volunteers. Thank you for your service every day and the huge passion that you bring. We know that serving during COVID is tough at times, but the dedication and idealism that you bring is making a huge difference. Secondly, thank you to our staff. Your time and energy goes a long way to making sure this programme is possible and that every volunteer has a great experience. Thank you to our US and South African colleagues. We're delighted to be part of this global movement with you. And we'd like to particularly thank City Year Inc.'s new Chief Executive, Jim Balfans, who's been a trustee of ours for 10 years, as well as Anne Mora, Meredith and Nicole. We'd like to thank the other trustees, both past and present, and particularly our chair, Jonathan Beebe, for the way in which they lead and govern the organisation. And perhaps our biggest thank you are for our community of supporters. City is lucky to have a range of wonderful corporate partnerships, and we were delighted to be joined tonight by Credit Suisse, Bank of America, DHL, National Grid, Aiken Gump, Vertex, CVC, Towerbrook, Coventry University and Harbourvest. We'd like to thank you and the hundreds of your staff who've got involved in making the programme such a great success. We'd also like to thank our colleagues from grant-making trusts, including St James's Place Partnership, the Garfield Weston Foundation, the Waits Family Enterprise Trust and the National Lottery. And we'd also like to thank the many individual philanthropists who are part of our Red Jacket Society and our Development Board. We're forever grateful to all of you for your support. As we look ahead to the next 10 years of the City Year journey, we want to invite you to join us. The need for City Year is greater than ever, with both pupils from disadvantaged communities and young job seekers struggling at the moment. City Year is uniquely positioned to support both groups, and there's several ways you can do this. Firstly, if you'd like to find out more about the programme, come along to one of our Breakfast of Champions monthly events where you can speak to our volunteers, and please tell friends who you think might be interested in this opportunity. Secondly, give us some of your time. We're looking right now for people who will act as bridge builders to our volunteers, helping them think about what they're going to do after their City Year. Or if you want to use your day job skills, we always have a list of pro bono projects that you could get involved in. If you're an employer, think about whether some of your staff might like to get involved. And lastly, if you can, we'd be delighted if you can make a financial contribution. Like all charities right now, we need support to make sure that we can continue to provide the City Year programme in the future. Deborah, our Development Director, is ready to chat to any of you if you'd like to find out more about the different investments you could make and how they can best be leveraged. In our work, we remember the African proverb, "It takes a village to raise a child." Well, it also takes a village to run a charity and to lead a movement. So we want to say a big thank you for coming tonight, and we invite you to stay involved with us over the next 10 years of our journey.